So if you are buying a new construction home, say at Ontario Ranch or at the Preserve in Chino, maybe down at Irvine's Great Park, and the builder delays your closing by just 30 days, it could cost you thousands of dollars in rate extension fees, or could cost you that special interest rate incentive that the builder offered you. Now, when you sit down in the sales office, the sales rep is going to give you an estimated completion date. But if you actually read that 100+ page contract that you're signing, the builder actually has up to 24 months to finish that home for you. That special mortgage rate, however, that may only be good for 30 days. So today, we're going to look at the circumstances where builders can legally delay closing on your new home, the math of what a rate extension actually costs you, and how to negotiate the timeline before you sign so the builder, not you, pays that penalty if they're late. So I'm Steve Enchin, your Southern California new construction home expert. Every week I have folks just like you find and buy brand new homes, less money and less stress. So call or text me your questions about buying new homes. Now, let's get started with the core problem, because once you see it, well, you can't unsee it. And it affects almost every new construction buyer who goes through this process without the right guidance. So when you get financing for a home, your lender locks in your interest rate for a defined window of time. And depending on the lender and the loan program, that's usually somewhere between 30 and 60 days, maybe 90 days, if you specifically pay for that extended rate lock. But the whole point of that lock is to protect you. It guarantees that no matter what happens to interest rates in the market between now and your closing date, you get the rate you were quoted. Close within that window and your rate is safe. Builder contracts, on the other hand, are written with an entirely different goal in mind. They're designed top to bottom to protect the builder from timeline liability. And buried somewhere inside that massive stack of paperwork, often dozens of pages deep in language most buyers, well, they never fully read, is what's commonly called a force majeure, or an unavoidable delay provision. And what that clause says in plain terms is, if the builder encounters material shortages, labor shortages, supply chain disruptions, permitting delays, bad weather, whatever, they are legally allowed to push your closing date back without penalty on them, without compensation to you, and without any obligation to cover the financial consequences on your end. So here's why that matters so much. That special 3.99% interest rate incentive is probably funded by what we call a forward commitment. Basically, a rate lock on a block of funds that's taken out by the builder. The builder's closing delay does not pause the expiration date on that forward commitment. Those are two completely separate timelines running simultaneously, and they don't talk to each other. If the builder pushes your closing back by 30 days and that rate lock expires during that window, you are suddenly facing a decision you never planned for. So option one, you accept whatever the current interest rate is on that market on that day. And depending on where rates have moved, what could be like a quarter point, a half point, could be even a full percentage point above what was locked for you. So on a $700,000 loan, a 1 point rate increase can add hundreds of dollars to your monthly payment. And that may be enough to push your debt to income ratio beyond what the lender will approve, meaning you could lose the loan entirely through no fault of your own on a home you may have been waiting a long time to close on. So option two, you pay a rate lock extension fee to buy more time. Those fees typically could be $1,500 to $4,000 or more for a 30-day extension, depending on your loan amount and the lender. And the standard builder contract, the one you signed before any of this happened, explicitly states that the builder holds no responsibility for your financing costs. That bill lands entirely on you. So here's where it gets even more frustrating. Because this situation often develops in ways that feel completely avoidable in the moment, but aren't really if you don't know what to look for. So your new home might be somewhere in, say, the framing or the drywall stage. The builder looks around, does a quick mental calculation and tells you something like, hey, we're in great shape. You should be good to lock your rate now. We're looking at a 60-day close. And they're not necessarily being dishonest. They're giving you their best estimate based on what they can see. But what they're not telling you is that the city inspector hasn't approved the electrical rough-in yet, and that inspection is required before the next phase of work can begin, or that the specific cabinet that you selected from the design center is suddenly back ordered from the manufacturer and won't ship for another 3 weeks, or that HVAC subcontractor is stretched thin across 4 communities and your home isn't really next in line. So none of those things are visible on a walkthrough, and the sales rep, even one who generally means well, often just doesn't have full visibility into all of them either. So if you lock your rate based on a verbal estimate from a site visit rather than a verified construction milestone tied to something you can contractually have confidence in, you're absorbing 100% of the financial risk for problems that are entirely on the builder's side of the equation. Their supply chain delay becomes your rate extension bill. Or if you bought the home for that special incentive that was available if you close within a certain number of days, that incentive may now be at risk. So this is exactly the point in the process where the right representation changes everything, and it's worth being specific about what actually that looks like in practice. A general real estate agent who doesn't specialize in new construction will typically look at the estimated closing date the builder provides, tell you to go ahead, call your lender and move on, get your rate lock. And that's not bad advice. Actually, it's just incomplete. It doesn't account for the gap between what the builder estimates and what actually happens on the ground. So a true fiduciary working in your interest approaches this differently from the start. Before you lock anything, we're asking for that builder's historical delay pattern in that specific community. Not just what the sales rep says, but what the data shows about how this developer actually performs on timeline. They're asking targeted questions about what phase of construction is currently the bottleneck across the project, because that tells you a lot about whether that 60-day estimate is realistic or optimistic. And critically, we're looking at the contract's incentive to identify whether there's room to negotiate a clause that shifts the financial burden of that rate lock extension back to the builder, if that delay is caused by the builder missing their own stated deadlines. So that kind of protective language is not in the standard contract. It's not going to be offered voluntarily, but in the right circumstances with the right representation, we can try to negotiate that in there, but it has to happen before you sign and before your earnest money deposit changes hands, because once you're under contract, all your leverage is gone. So here's the practical takeaway before we wrap this one up. Every builder contract you sign in Southern California has clauses in it designed to protect the home builder at your expense in a delay scenario. It's not an accusation, it's just the reality of how these documents are structured. The question is whether you go into that contract aware of what's in it. With language we can try to negotiate to protect your position, or whether you find out what those clauses mean when it's already too late to do anything about it. So before you sign any builder contract, and specifically before you walk into a model home and fill out that registration card, text me the name of the community you're looking at. We can go through what that builder's contract actually says, what their track record looks like in that project, and what protections we can realistically push for before you commit money to a deal. Don't let that 30-day delay turn into a $4,000 surprise that you never saw coming. So thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next video.